So as I reported at the beginning of the program and is being reported in the Herald Sun, Melbourne City Council is, after a vote last night, one step closer to ditching January 26 as Australia Day. Now, I'm completely confused by this. What's it got to do with the council? I mean, this is a council, by the way, that when you look around Australia, runs an Australia Day that consists of water skiing on the Yarra River and a vintage car display. What it's got to do with them and why the Lord Mayor Sally Capp is so determined to call for change at that meeting is completely beyond me. And I imagine, given the reaction we've had already this morning, most Australians would agree. Bill Lang is the CEO of Small Business Australia, founder of the Victorians Party, joins us on the line. It's abnormally early in the debating cycle to have this debate about Australia Day, but what's Sally Capp trying to do here?
Look, it's a very good question, Steve, and I think it's unfortunately a trend that we're seeing across many levels of government throughout the country, where once people get elected into positions, they start to pursue whatever they think might be popular or of personal interest or a personal passion, as opposed to going to voters and saying, look, this is what we plan to do on this particular matter, e.g. Australia Day, and then letting the people vote as to whether they want to support that. So I don't know what they're really trying to achieve. There's some bigger issues in Melbourne that impact the majority of people that live and work in Melbourne than dealing with this national issue, which is something for the national government to deal with, if in fact it's a priority for the government to deal with.
Let's deal with that issue of Melbourne City. This council seems obsessed with bike lanes and obsessed with these causes that have nothing to do with running the city. Why is this council allowed to continue along that road, given what a mess they've made of running the city they're in charge of? And what I don't get is the council is supposed to represent the ratepayers of Melbourne. Now, because of geography, Melbourne are residential, but the majority of it is business in the city. Why are business in the city, Bill, not making more of a noise about what a dysfunctional council they have running their city?
Well, I think there's a general, wariness and concern amongst many people that are in business and business of all shapes and sizes to necessarily take a stand on principle on anything, particularly if they feel that there might be, pushback against them, and whether that's digital pushback, whether it's, people that actually work in various departments, looking differently upon things that they might want to be doing with their business. So there's just an incredible reluctance and therefore an overwhelming majority of people that, in terms of what they actually think about these things, are being sort of whacked into submission to not say anything as opposed to share what their thoughts are.
So business leaders are scared that people will attack them online if they tell the council to get on with looking after proper traffic movement, pedestrian access, ways that people who run businesses in the city can get deliveries sent to them more easily, and turn Melbourne back into the vibrant city it once was. Well, if that's the case, they're just weak.
Well, I think that, what we're seeing, if we take an example of bike lanes in the city of Melbourne,
particularly
the location of some of them, Steve, you're now seeing everyone from the Transport Workers Union saying there's an OH&S issue. Of course, Small Business Australia and a number of other organisations and individual traders have been pointing out how ridiculous the location of some of these bike lanes are. They have these so-called public consultations there at the council, which many of these governments, they talk about having a consultative process, but they're actually shams. We saw it up in another local government in Victoria, which is the city of Moreland, which has made a decision to go and change its name. And they say they've had a consultation process, which is to give the people in Moreland 3 different Aboriginal names that they can choose from. And then one Aboriginal elder coming forward saying he'd never heard of that name. So, these consultations are a sham. The same thing's taken place with drug injecting facilities. Everything's gone quiet on the City of Melbourne supported drug injecting facility. Consultation process took place over a year ago, yet we're not hearing anything about it now. Well, what was the result of it? Maybe it wasn't the result they wanted, therefore they're just laying low until, in this case, the state government gets through a state government election. On
the issue of Australia Day, an Indigenous elder quoted in the Herald Sun today, Ian Hunter of the Wurundjeri community, said changing Australia Day won't result in meaningful action for remote communities. He said it's not up to municipalities to determine whether the day was changed. He said it's not going to change anything. It's just a few condescending people who want to make themselves look good to a minority. People in remote communities will still have the same dramas. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah, look, I've just returned from a breakup in the Northern Territory, a great part of the country. The least regulated sort of territory in the whole country. And, I think what that elder has said is spot on with, and only he can speak for his own people, as opposed to, people running local governments, speaking for what they believe, the First Nations people are looking for.
And the other point I made earlier is, what does dumping Australia Day as January 26, calling it something else, moving the date, what's that say to all those proud migrant Victorians who live in Melbourne, who came to this country, particularly after World War II, from southern Europe, Italy, Greece, Yugoslavia, and who became Australians on the 26th of January. They proudly probably got their citizenship certificate hanging on the wall at home. What's that say to them?
Well, it says that the people pushing for the change want division to be bred, and for us not to be one Australia, but to be a whole bunch of minor identity-based, special interest groups, very loud minority groups pushing for particular agendas, where the majority of Australians want to get on with continuing to make the country great, raise their families, run their businesses, contribute to their local communities. And you look at local government, you say, what are you doing getting involved in this stuff? You've got bigger issues and a lack of performance delivery on those issues that you should be focused on, particularly given how much money everyone working in the councils get paid.
And we already have Sorry Day, Apology Day, NAIDOC Week. I mean, we all respect that we need to look back and look at the way Indigenous Australians have contributed to the country. Why do we need another day?
Well, you just have to ask the question around the way some of these political operatives work, whether it's in local council or, whether it's in state government or federal government. Here's a good issue. We'll throw it out there. It's going to distract people. They're going to be debating it and carrying on about it. Meanwhile, they continue not to deliver on the core things that they're responsible for. So, let's distract and deflect and let's go and look over there. There's something to see over there. Let's get them talking about that. The city of Melbourne and the state of Victoria continues to be on its knees and broken. We've got a long way back, and bringing up debates along these lines and burning up council time over it is an absolute distraction from the main game.
Good to catch up with you again, Bill. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Steve. Bill